Oh, comes a moment in every life when the air feels different. You can't explain it, but you feel it in your bones. An unseen force nudging you towards something greater. Some call it fate, others call it intuition. Whatever name you give it, there comes a time in life when you start feeling something deep within you, an unshakable restlessness, an internal stirring that you can't quite explain. It's as if the life you are living no longer fits you, like a suit that has suddenly grown too tight, a space that feels too small. You wake up in the morning and go through the same routines, but something feels different. The conversations that once excited you now seem dull. The goals that once gave you purpose now feel hollow. The things you used to tolerate suddenly become unbearable. You begin to feel an urge, a pull, as if something greater is calling to you. It's not loud, not yet. It starts as a whisper, an unease, a question that lingers at the back of your mind. Is this all there is? And the more you ignore it, the louder it becomes. You feel it when you sit in silence. You feel it when you engage in meaningless small talk. You feel it when you stare at your reflection and realize that, somewhere along the way, you have outgrown the life you once settled for. Many people mistake this restlessness for dissatisfaction, but they are not the same. Dissatisfaction is an aimless frustration, a desire to escape without knowing where you are going. But this is different. This is your soul recognizing that change is necessary. It's an internal knowing that something is waiting for you just beyond what you can see, and it refuses to let you remain where you are. Some resist this feeling. They bury it under distractions, under the noise of daily life, under obligations and routines. They convince themselves that it's just a phase, that they should be grateful for what they have, that wanting more is selfish. But deep down, the restlessness remains. It does not fade, because it is not here to torment you. It is here to guide you. It is life's way of telling you that you have reached the edge of one chapter and it is time to turn the page. It is a signal that the person you are becoming can no longer exist in the life you have built. And so, the discomfort grows. You feel a sudden impatience with things that no longer align with you. You start craving something more, even if you don't yet know what that more is. And here's the most important part. If you ignore this calling, if you suppress the feeling and convince yourself that you can stay where you are, life will step in. You will start to see things unravel. Situations that once felt stable will begin to crack. Opportunities that once seemed secure will slip away. And it's not because you are unlucky or being punished. It's because you are meant for something greater, and life will not allow you to remain small. But for those who listen, who pay attention to this internal shift, something beautiful happens. They start to explore the unknown. They begin to ask different questions. They seek out new experiences, new people, new knowledge. And as they do, the restlessness that once felt like a burden transforms into excitement. It becomes a driving force, a guiding light leading them toward the next version of themselves. This is how transformation begins, not with sudden dramatic change, but with an inner knowing that refuses to be ignored. The most successful, fulfilled people in the world have felt this same restlessness. The difference is, they did not resist it. They embraced it. They trusted that it was leading them somewhere important. So, if you feel this stirring within you, do not push it away. Do not drown it out with distractions or try to convince yourself that you should be content where you are. Honor it. Listen to it. Let it guide you. Because this restlessness is not a curse, it is a sign. It is proof that you are on the brink of something extraordinary. There are moments in life when everything seems to be slipping through our fingers. The job you once loved no longer fulfills you. A relationship you thought would last a lifetime suddenly comes to an end. Plans you carefully constructed crumble before your eyes. It feels as if life itself is turning against you, taking away the things you held dear, stripping away your sense of certainty. But I urge you, do not mistake this for misfortune. Do not see it as a cruel twist of fate. Instead, recognize it for what it truly is, the clearing of a path, the breaking down of walls that no longer serve you, the necessary disruption before a new beginning. We cling to what is familiar, even when it no longer nourishes us. We hold on to places, people, and situations out of habit, out of fear that letting go will leave us empty. But sometimes life knows better. Sometimes the things we stubbornly refuse to release are precisely the things holding us back. And when we won't let go willingly, life intervenes. A door slams shut. A path we once walked without hesitation is suddenly blocked. We stand there in shock, questioning why. But in time, if we have the courage to look beyond our immediate discomfort, we realize something profound. Those closed doors were not rejections, they were redirections. You see, life has a way of guiding us toward what we truly need, not always what we think we want. There is wisdom in the unexpected. That job loss might be the push you need to step into your true calling. That heartbreak, as painful as it feels, might be clearing space for a love that will transform your life in ways you never imagined. That failed opportunity might be rerouting you towards something far greater than what you originally settled for. But in the moment, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like loss, it feels like failure. And that's where most people give up. They resist change. They cling to what is no longer meant for them, desperately trying to pry open doors that were meant to stay shut. But let me tell you something. Every time life takes something away, it is making room for something better. Every ending is a disguised beginning. Every rejection is a form of protection. You may not see it now, but trust me, one day you will look back and understand that everything happened exactly as it needed to. The pain you felt, the uncertainty you endured, the confusion that consumed you, it was all part of a bigger picture, a plan unfolding beyond your comprehension. Think back to a time in your life when things didn't go the way you wanted. Perhaps you felt devastated at the time, but what happened later? Did you not end up somewhere better? Did you not grow in ways you never expected? Did you not discover strength you didn't know you had? The pattern is always the same. What once felt like an unfair loss turns out to be a blessing in disguise. So, if you find yourself standing before a closed door, do not waste your energy pounding against it. Do not beg life to give back what it has taken. Instead, turn around. Look at the path before you. There is something waiting for you. Something bigger, something better. Something you never would have found had you stayed where you were. Walk forward, even if you're afraid. Trust that even in uncertainty you are being guided. Because here's the truth. Life is not trying to hurt you, it is trying to grow you. It is trying to lead you toward your highest potential. But sometimes growth requires loss. Sometimes the road to a better future requires us to leave behind the familiar, to embrace discomfort, to step into the unknown with nothing but faith. One day you will look back and see that every closed door was actually a blessing, that the moments that broke you were actually shaping you, that the losses were necessary to make space for the life that was waiting for you. Until then, trust. Keep moving forward, the path is opening. And when you finally arrive, you will understand why things had to unfold the way they did. Unusual encounters and synchronicities. These are the moments that make you pause. The ones that send shivers down your spine. The ones that feel like more than mere coincidence. You know the feeling. You're thinking about an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly they call. You're struggling with a decision, and then a stranger says something in passing that perfectly answers the question weighing on your mind. You pick up a book at random, and the words on the page seem to speak directly to your soul, as if they were written just for you. These moments are not random. They are signs, subtle, intricate threads woven into the fabric of your life, guiding you towards something greater. But here's the thing, most people dismiss them. They chalk them up to chance, to luck, to meaningless coincidences. They shrug and move on, unaware that life itself is whispering to them, pointing them toward a path they might not yet see. But you will not be one of those people, because now you will start paying attention. Every major change in life is preceded by these little nudges. Sometimes they come as gentle whispers, other times as loud knocks, forcing you to take notice. Imagine walking down a familiar street, following your usual routine, when suddenly something pulls you in a different direction. A conversation, a sign, an opportunity you hadn't considered before. That moment, that split second where you choose to follow the unfamiliar, is where transformation begins. You see, when your life is on the verge of something new, the universe, or whatever force you believe in, starts rearranging things. It begins placing people, messages, and experiences in your path that seem too perfect to be accidental. Think about the greatest shifts in your life. Didn't they begin with a series of small, seemingly unrelated moments that, In hindsight, connected like a masterpiece. Some people call it destiny, others call it divine intervention. Some see it as the law of attraction, as energy aligning with your thoughts and intentions. But no matter the name, the reality remains the same. Life is speaking to you, guiding you, waiting for you to acknowledge the signs. But here's the catch. These moments, these synchronicities, require action. It's not enough to notice them, you must follow them. Too often, people see the signs but hesitate. They hear the call for change but stay rooted in fear. They dismiss the gut feeling, ignore the opportunity, and later wonder why life feels stagnant. Don't let that be you. When you begin to notice these encounters happening more frequently, when the world starts leaving you hints, understand that you are standing at a crossroads. The choice is yours. Stay where you are, comfortable but unfulfilled, or step forward into the unknown, where growth, transformation, and new beginnings await. Think of it this way: life does not present you with signs for no reason. If you are seeing them, it means you are ready. It means something deep within you has already shifted, even if you don't fully realize it yet. There is no need to force anything, no need to desperately chase after change. Simply remain open, stay aware, and trust that the road is unfolding before you in ways you may not yet understand. And if you ever find yourself questioning whether these signs are real, ask yourself this: what would happen if you followed them? What if, instead of brushing them aside, you embraced them? What if, instead of doubting, you believed? Because that is where the magic happens. That is where life transforms. One day, not far from now, you will look back at this moment. You will remember the strange encounters, the unexpected words, the small nudges that led you here. And in that moment, you will smile, because you will finally see what you could not before. It was never a coincidence. It was always leading you to exactly where you were meant to be. You begin to notice a shift within yourself, one that feels subtle at first, like the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon. It is not something loud or dramatic, yet it lingers, reshaping the way you see yourself and the world around you. You find yourself questioning things you once accepted without a second thought. The beliefs, habits, and routines that once seemed natural now feel restrictive, almost foreign. This is the moment of self-awarenessness, the turning point where transformation begins. For most of your life, you have operated within a framework built by past experiences, societal expectations, and the influence of those around you. You have lived within a version of yourself that, up until now, felt stable, predictable. But something inside you is beginning to stir, something that refuses to stay quiet any longer. You start to recognize patterns in your thoughts, emotions, and actions that no longer serve you. Perhaps you realize that your anger isn't about the present moment, but about an old wound you never allowed to heal. Maybe you begin to see that the fear you've carried for years wasn't truly your own, but one inherited from the voices of others. The discomfort of this realization is undeniable. Awareness is a gift, but it can also be unsettling, because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. You begin to recognize your own contradictions, the times you have settled for less than you deserved, the moments you ignored your intuition because it was easier to follow the path already laid before you. It is not easy to face yourself, but understand this: it is necessary. Growth does not come to those who turn away from truth. It comes to those who dare to embrace it. And then, something remarkable happens. The questions that once felt heavy begin to feel like possibilities. You start to see your choices in a new light. Where once you reacted on impulse, now you pause, you reflect. You begin to separate what is truly yours from what has merely been handed to you. The expectations of others, the limitations you once accepted as fact, these begin to loosen their grip on you. You start to listen more closely to yourself. You hear the subtle pull of your own desires, the quiet dreams that you once dismissed as impractical. And for the first time in a long while, you ask yourself, what if? What if I could change? What if I don't have to remain stuck in this same cycle? What if the life I want is not as far away as I once believed? Doubt will creep in, of course. The old self does not fade away without resistance. But this time something is different. You do not dismiss your doubts, but you do not let them control you either. You acknowledge them for what they are, shadows of a past that no longer defines you. And so the transformation begins, not in a single, earth-shattering moment, but in the quiet decisions you make each day. The way you choose to respond instead of react. The way you begin to set boundaries where once you allowed others to dictate your path. The way you finally allow yourself to dream, to hope, to believe that change is not only possible, it is already happening. There is a moment in every great transformation when the old self and the new self exist side by side. You will feel the pull of the past, the comfort of what is familiar, but you will also feel the undeniable force of something greater, something that calls you forward. And when that moment comes, remember this: the past is known, but the future is unwritten, and you hold the pen. Discomfort before growth is one of the greatest paradoxes of life. Most people assume that change should feel good, that progress should be smooth, and that stepping into something better should be effortless. But the truth is, real growth rarely comes wrapped in comfort. It is often disguised as struggle, uncertainty, or even pain. Think about nature. A seed must break through its shell in the dark, damp soil before it can grow into a plant. A caterpillar must completely dissolve within its cocoon before it transforms into a butterfly. A snake must shed its old skin, often struggling to break free, before it can continue to grow. Every process of evolution, whether in nature or in human life, involves discomfort. When you are on the verge of a major breakthrough, your life may feel more chaotic than ever. You might experience frustration, impatience, and even doubt. You may find yourself asking, why is this happening? Why do I feel stuck? Why does it seem like nothing is working out? But what you don't realize in that moment is that this very discomfort is the sign that you are shedding an old version of yourself. The life that no longer serves you is beginning to fall away, and what remains is the raw material for something greater. Consider a time when you had to learn something new, perhaps a new job, a new skill, or even a new way of thinking. At first it felt awkward, maybe even overwhelming. You second-guessed yourself, you stumbled, you might have wanted to give up. But if you persisted, there came a moment when things started to click, when what once seemed impossible became second nature. That moment of discomfort was not a sign to stop, it was proof that you were growing. The same principle applies to life's biggest transformations. When you feel like you are being stretched beyond your limits, it's because those limits are being redefined. When you feel like you are losing control, it's because life is reshaping you in ways you can't yet see. When you experience rejection, failure, or loss, it's not because you are being punished, it's because you are being redirected to something better. Many people resist this stage of discomfort. They cling to the familiar, even when it no longer serves them, because the unknown feels too frightening. They mistake temporary hardship for permanent failure. They assume that because the process is painful, it must mean something is wrong. But what they fail to see is that discomfort is not a barrier, it is the doorway to the next level of their life. Some of the most successful people in history, scientists, artists, leaders, have spoken about the period of struggle that came before their greatest achievements. They faced setbacks, they doubted themselves, and yet they persisted. What separated them from those who gave up was not talent or luck, but the understanding that discomfort was part of the journey. If you find yourself in a phase of discomfort right now, take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the in-between, the space where growth happens. You are being refined. You are being prepared for something bigger. The person you are becoming is stronger, wiser, and more capable than the person you are leaving behind. So, instead of resisting discomfort, lean into it. Instead of fearing change, trust that it is shaping you in ways you cannot yet comprehend. Growth does not happen in the safety of the known. It happens when you step into the unknown, embrace the struggle, and have faith that what lies on the other side is worth every moment of discomfort you endure. A renewed sense of optimism is not just a fleeting feeling of happiness. It is a profound shift in perspective, a deep knowing that no matter how chaotic things may seem on the surface, something greater is unfolding. This optimism does not come from blind hope or wishful thinking. It comes from an inner transformation, one that is often the result of past struggles, deep introspection, and an evolving understanding of oneself and the world. At first, this feeling may seem subtle, like a quiet whisper in the background of your mind. You may wake up one day and, for no apparent reason, feel lighter. The burdens that once felt overwhelming now seem manageable. The problems that kept you up at night still exist, but they no longer have the same power over you. It's as if something within you has shifted, as if you have stepped onto a new path, even before you fully realize it. This renewed optimism is not about pretending that everything is perfect. It is about seeing challenges from a different perspective. You start to notice that setbacks are not punishments, but lessons. Every obstacle, every difficulty, and every failure suddenly seems like part of a larger plan. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but instead, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift in mindset is the gateway to transformation. There will still be difficult days, moments of doubt, and times when the old fears creep back in. But even in those moments, something within you refuses to give up. There is a resilience that was not there before. A quiet determination that pushes you forward. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop waiting for external validation or permission to pursue your dreams. Instead, you take action because something deep within you tells you it's the right thing to do. As this optimism grows, so does your energy. You feel more alive, more present. You start to notice beauty in the smallest things. A conversation with a stranger, the way the sunlight filters through the trees, the way your breath feels as it enters and leaves your body. Life, in all its simplicity, becomes enough. You no longer chase happiness, you create it from within. Opportunities begin to appear, not because the world has suddenly changed, but because you have. When your mind is open to possibilities, you see them everywhere. You attract people who align with your energy, the right doors open, and even if some remain closed, you no longer see rejection as an ending, but as redirection. This shift in perspective is powerful. It allows you to dream bigger without fear, to take risks without being paralyzed by doubt. You no longer hold yourself back with thoughts of, "What if I fail?" because you understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but part of the journey toward it. One of the most beautiful things about this transformation is that it affects every aspect of your life. Your relationships improve, because you no longer seek fulfillment from others, you bring fulfillment into them. Your work becomes more meaningful because you are driven by purpose rather than obligation. Even your physical health may improve as stress diminishes and your body responds to this newfound sense of peace. People around you will notice the change. Some may not understand it, and that's okay. Not everyone will be able to walk this path with you, but the right ones will. You will naturally attract those who match your energy and distance yourself from those who drain it. This is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. And then, one day, you will look back and realize that the version of yourself who once doubted, who once felt lost, who once wondered if things would ever get better, no longer exists. In their place stands someone stronger, wiser, and infinitely more capable. This is not the end of your journey, it is only the beginning. The road ahead will still have twists and turns, but now you walk it with confidence. You trust the process, you trust yourself, and most importantly, you trust that life is always guiding you towards something greater.